Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Dropped him for Scheifele, back for Wheeler, shot, he scores! Oh, a thing of beauty!
Patrick Laine has goal number 5!
In for Kyle Connor, Togreg, scores! That was beautiful. Get it in queue for the highlight reel.
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
It is the holiday season. And we here at Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, have some exciting news. You, our listeners, will have an opportunity to win an autographed Mark Scheifele Heritage Blue jersey. We'll have a trivia question for you to answer. You'll have to answer via email.
Don't hit fast forward.
Thank you. You can't cheat. You have to listen to every single last second of this podcast before you're allowed to actually hear the question.
Exactly.
But it is coming up a little bit later in this one. So it is... Jamie Thomas, Tyler Esquivel, Mitchell Clinton. Good times for the Winnipeg Jets, at least on home ice. They lost a game in Detroit. Outside of that, a lot of goals here, particularly in the second period. A goal burst, 3 goals in 2 minutes on Tuesday.
Yes.
4 goals in 4 minutes and 17 seconds Sunday against the Philadelphia Flyers. It feels like 2 years ago all of a sudden here on home ice for the Jets. Mitch.
Yeah, going 8-1-1 in their last 10 home games. It's a real impressive mark, especially early in the season there was travel. There was a lot kind of going into it, but I think Paul Maurice has said they kind of started to play their best hockey when the calendar flipped to November, and it's honestly been a sustained period here. I mean, we're halfway through December already. Which reminds me, I have some shopping that needs to get done in the next 10 days
you can
or so.
enter the contest a little bit later.
Maybe. But yeah, if you're the Winnipeg Jets, there's a whole lot of confidence on home ice right now. Mark Scheifele is absolutely rolling. He's got a 6-game point streak. He's got 11 points over that span. Like, he's just playing unbelievable. His whole line's playing great. I thought Blake Wheeler's line against Philadelphia was really good as well. Like, it's just, you go up and down the lineup and you're getting contributions from everywhere, and that's exactly what you need.
Well, the thing that lies in question right now, Tyler, is a hit on Matthew Perrault by Joel Farabee of the Philadelphia Flyers. We're not quite sure where Matthew Perrault is at this point. The important part out of that was the Jets' power play that followed. They got a 5-minute advantage. They scored twice. The power play has been called into question with its efficiency as of late, but they are scoring big goals with a man advantage, the Winnipeg Jets.
I think the one thing that sort of strikes me about that 5-minute power play opportunity was it wasn't the prettiest to start, and they were
for a minute and a half.
They were having some trouble getting offensive zone pressure. I think I looked at Mitch and said, "This is so stressful," and it really shouldn't be. But I think it speaks to the leadership that Blake Wheeler has, where he just sort of takes the puck along the side there and says, "You know what? Screw this. I'm going to put this in the back of the net." And then, they end up scoring another one fed from Blake Wheeler to Mark Scheifele. So I think the danger that Blake Wheeler presents as a shooter then creates some doubt, and it's on the minds of the defenders going into that next opportunity, and they have to respect his shooting mentality, and boom, that frees up Mark Scheifele, and it's in the back of the net. So while it probably wasn't the best power play opportunity going into the first minute and a half, they sure brought it home and showed that the power play is still very, very dangerous.
Paul Maurice made a very interesting comment after with regards to the hit but from Joel Farabee on Matthew Perrault. He feels those are the most dangerous hits. Now, Perrault was blindsided essentially. I guess you could call him, he was vulnerable, and Farabee hit him without the puck. Now, you could argue that some of the hits from behind are more dangerous, but Paul pointed out the fact that those ones, the player at least has an opportunity to brace. Matthew Perrault had no idea that Joel Farabee was coming at him.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Paul said is they have sometimes when you're in the situation where you're getting checked from behind, sometimes you have a sense that someone's coming. Obviously, there's a number of hits from behind that isn't the case, but I think Paul Maurice's point is well made. Just the fact that Perrault had just made a backhand play up the boards and wasn't looking, and there wasn't really anybody around him. And then Farabee kind of just comes out of nowhere and just catches him. And Perrault, I believe, was just kind of starting to bring his head back around. So obviously not expecting the hit, I think was vulnerable. And then, obviously hits. As soon as you're hit when you're not expecting it, your body, you kind of just lose control of your body. You just kind of fall. And I think he hit the ice pretty hard and was down for a while. And, I remember when he was getting taken off the ice, it did not look good. But obviously there's going to be some evaluations he'll have to go under kind of as the week goes on, starting on Monday. But Paul Maurice did say he was moving around, which is good.
Yeah, it's a good
but
thing.
he didn't want that to be confused with the fact that he's fine, which, they're going to hold off on saying anything about that until they kind of see how this evaluation goes.
They've survived injuries, replacement of players in the defense. Here's the thing. Brian Little has been missed by this organization and by his teammates on the ice, but they filled in with Blake Wheeler at center. There's just something about Matthew Perrault that's kind of hard to replace because it's a guy that goes up and down your lineup, can play on any line. That is something, if he misses any time, is going to be tough to replace, Tyler.
Yeah, it's well documented that he's sort of that Swiss Army knife player, and I think over the last few weeks especially, Matthew Perrault has proven why he's in this league, and winning puck battles down low, playing on the power play, of course, and just being the guy that can be relied on in both ends of the ice. And like you said, a guy you don't want to be missing time. Obviously, you don't want anyone to miss time who's currently in your lineup, but he's a guy that has just different intangibles and seems to go a million miles an hour at all times. And obviously, Brandon Tanev is no longer with the team, and he's sort of that player that sort of is, if anybody fits that Tanev mold, it's Matthew Perrault. So a player you want in your lineup for sure.
Gabriel Bork's another guy we could think of too that kind of is that fits the Brandon Tanev mold, but very hard players to replace. Not taking anything away from Brian Little, it's just that Blake Wheeler's just kind of done a nice job sitting up the middle. Speaking of Blake Wheeler, it's kind of creeping up here. He's about to become the franchise's all-time leading scorer. He's only 3 points away from tying Ilya Kovalchuk. Almost that opportunity now where you're getting rid of the Atlanta Thrasher part of the history of the team. You're not fully getting rid of it, but for Blake Wheeler to step in there at that point, 3 points back, it's just kind of creeping up on us. It would seem like a long time ago, or the beginning part of the year, I'm like, is this doable this year? And you think it was with the way he's been putting up the points, but it sure has crept up on us.
Yeah, and I think it's just a testament to how he's played. Not only, obviously, he has the back-to-back 91-point seasons, but then he comes into this season and he's always been this way, but he's really kind of embraced the fact that, this is where I need to be for our team to win games. Does playing center sometimes negate some of the offensive chances you might have at the other end because you have to be in a certain spot defensively and handle certain defensive responsibilities? Maybe. But that's what the team needs from him to win games, and he's embraced it with open arms, goes something like 70% in the face-off dot against the Philadelphia Flyers, and he's just been fantastic in the dot. He's done absolutely everything that this organization could possibly ask from him. So obviously for him to kind of be that close to setting that mark, I think is really cool, and I'm looking forward to the game that it happens. I remember reading the game notes going into the game against the Flyers, and it's like, okay, well, that would be a real good night if he gets it done against the Flyers, but to pick up 3 points and get himself, like you said, within 3 all of a sudden, it's really neat.
We don't have to fill a lot of this podcast because Trevor Kidd decided to fill most of it for us.
Yes.
Spoke with him in a restaurant on Sunday afternoon before the game against the Philadelphia Flyers. We have a jersey giveaway here to give away in this podcast. We have 50 Jets reward points coming up. But first, let's hear from the former Brandon Wheat King Manitoba product with a sit-down we had with him earlier on Sunday.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Hi, this is Lauren Brossois, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
All right, Trevor, well, we're sitting here in a restaurant that I can't name because we're not sure what sponsorship's lying behind it, so we're not going to talk about where we are right now, but we are
hanging out in a restaurant.
I can mention that you work for TSN 1290 because we're partners with you guys, so that's the safe thing to do. We were just talking about your various haircuts. Now, I'm sitting across from you right now. You're wearing a suit. You're all nicely shaven.
So you're saying I look prim and proper?
You look prim and proper. This is like you have to for podcasts. So that's the only reason why I'm bringing you on. Your haircuts in the middle part of your NHL career, when you look back at them, or
we're what? Be honest.
Well, that thing on your chin. How many times did somebody bring up that thing on your chin,
No,
Trevor?
My kids bring it up all the time. Never mind anybody else. So
Yeah.
I live in pain with my kids looking at what the heck was I doing, thinking. when I was late 20s, early 30s with not only my haircut, but my facial hair.
That was like some good flow, though, if you think about it. Did you do the water bottle in the hair? You know, and the guys like
the
douse yourself
Undertaker
with hair,
look?
and you go like this, and you flip your hair back. Did you do that before you put on your mask?
Well, you know the crazy thing in Carolina, hockey. I mean, where you look at a depth chart. Where's hockey in Carolina? Back when we that team. So I was traded from Calgary to Carolina. That first year in Carolina was when the team moved from Hartford to Carolina. So everybody was getting used to the Carolinas, Raleigh, Greensboro. You recall we played the first 2 years that the Carolina Hurricanes were in the league. They were played. Our games were played in Greensboro, North Carolina, not Raleigh, North Carolina. So that was a real neat experience. And we go, I think back to those days. Wrestling was probably number one on a sporting depth chart.
Right.
NASCAR racing was number two.
Yeah,
on a
close
sporting
second.
depth. Absolutely close second.
College basketball.
Basketball, exactly. You know, in North Carolina, Duke, all those sorts of things. So, hockey was, way down the depth chart. So I was always interested. Well, it was fun. You come out of the dressing room, and there's Richard Petty hanging out.
Yeah.
Right? Something
That's
that,
amazing.
no, it was so cool.
Yeah.
So, and having long hair, although the
And
league,
it was long.
although the league might have had a problem with it,
Yeah.
or perception in regards to why does this guy have long hair, living and playing in North Carolina, that was cool.
It fit
because
in.
everybody else had it going on.
Very NASCAR. It's a very. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of NASCAR in you with those hairstyles.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, you could be at a hat.
It's only hair.
Yeah.
And the kids and the wife give me heck now. Listen, you can't keep doing these things here. Eventually, it's not going to grow back. So, yeah.
Do you think your wife will be upset about bringing it now? The hair's coming back again. The haircut. We're bringing this back again.
No, I can't ever
Going back full
imagine
circle.
those Undertaker days back in North Carolina. I can fully confidently say that you'll never see that look again.
Never crossed your mind. Not that long, but have you ever considered, because it's short now, you ever thought about going back a little bit longer? A lot of guys in the Jets are starting to get their hair.
Is this what you do with podcasts?
Yeah.
You talk about.
You just go all over the place. And then Tyler will look at me, what were you talking? Where are you going on that one? I'm like, I'm talking about hair, man. It's just, no one can see what we're talking about, but it's like, it's provocative.
No, that, it's funny, and I said this just before. Now I have a chuckle because back in the day when I went with the long hair and the crazy facial hair, there were people that questioned in regards to we're going to make a trade or, hey, listen, we're interested in Trevor Kidd, but can you tell us what's going on with his hair? Can you tell us what's going on with, he seems a little bit
Is there a deeper
off.
story in this?
Right.
Yes.
No, I'm not joking. We're talking about management here. They would put in a call into my agent and wonder, is there anything else to be told here? We're interested in this guy coming into our organization. But now I laugh because you look at a Joe Thornton for the San Jose Sharks. You look at Brent Burns for the San Jose Sharks.
Evolution of Brent Burns.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Duck Dynasty type stuff here. And no one ever questions their character now because they have either long hair or crazy facial hair.
Yeah.
So we've seen the evolution in regards to just go out there and play the game. If you want to have long hair, so be it.
Yeah. As a former goaltender, you do the analyzing part of things. Do you feel that only former goaltenders should be able to analyze current goaltenders?
Funny.
Because there's a fraternity, is it not, with goaltenders?
Yes, as long as you've ever played the position, and I even joke with Rick Ralph. I mean, anybody that's played the position has a deeper sense of what's going on between the pipes and between the ears, right?
Yeah.
In the situation, and I think there's. That's the fun of playing the position, is that challenge that, you're going to face 30, 40 shots. You're going to be the first star. You're going to be the first one noticed, and the good and the great that comes with that. But also when it's not going well, feeling like you want to crawl into one of those little tiny spaces between the boards, the dashers, whatever that might entail, and perhaps the game not going the way you want. So, that whole spectrum, that whole ups and downs roller coaster of playing the position.
That's why the goaltender coach comes in and plays such a large role in this whole thing, because they're the one that kind of understand what you're going through.
Right, no, Jamie, and that's the fun part of the position now when I look at it, is how it's evolved both technically, but there's a science behind it now. A goalie coach 15, 20 years ago was just worrying about the space between the ears.
Yeah, they're just
right.
there to see how you're feeling.
Doing exactly what we're doing right now.
Just talking.
This was what a goalie coach did.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Let's go have a beer.
I want that job.
Let's go talk.
Okay.
You know, how you feeling? You know what's going on? And certainly, yes. So listen,
so
you're on
kind
ice,
of
you're
more
doing
psychologist kind of thing.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
And now you look at it. Certainly, there's that component to it still. But there's the science, the edges, the angles, the recovery, the second save. We could talk for hours here on how specifically goaltending to me as coach, arguably maybe one of the biggest changes in the game in the last 10 years. In my opinion, could very well, you put it up there with anything else that you might say is evolved, whether it be equipment, whether it be technology, video, analytics. Certainly how the position goaltending is coached would be right up there with a lot of those other changes.
With analytics, they still haven't found the perfect formula to evaluate goaltenders. I can see the look on your
chuckle,
face.
yeah, because listen, and I still see it. I still make some reference. A lot better now than what it used to be. But I remember in Toronto, me and Ed Belfour were the guys there, and we would love going into Buffalo and playing in Buffalo because the shot clock guy was, I think, sleeping at the wheel some games.
So
He would just hit it. Like as soon as the puck was anywhere in the blue paint,
that's a shot.
He would hold his finger on the trigger until it was out of the blue paint. So it could be one.
Like when you
could
change
be
the
5
time
shots.
at home, when you change the time at home, you hold down the button, it just goes. Brrr.
Jamie, it's serious. So it would drive Belfour crazy.
Yeah.
When we look at Dominik Hasek's save percentage, and we'd go, like, did he actually see 50 shots tonight? Or was the puck just in the blue paint 3 or 4 times and he held it down for 5 or 6 shots? So,
okay.
There is, there's more conversation about high danger opportunities. There's more tracking of those situations. To me, it's tough. Not tough, but still save percentage, to me, to some degree, still has to be taken with a slight grain of salt.
Yeah.
Just simply because some buildings, I think, measure it a little bit different than others.
And some teams would view it as different as others, right, as well? Paul Maurice has always said that there's the expected goals against that they go with. I don't know how they evaluate that one. That must be called into question sometimes too, does it not?
Well, and again, that part, when you start talking about the analytics stuff, that wasn't around.
No.
You just looked at any goal.
Trevor, I'm looking at my sheet here, and it says you should have made that save.
Totally. Any goal was a bad goal, right?
Yeah.
You let 1 in, you let 5 in. They're all bad goals.
I'm not liking what the chart's telling me here, Trevor. I didn't watch the game,
exactly.
But it says here you should have made that save.
So I find it interesting in playing the position when you talk about, and coach Paul Maurice is one of the best in the league in regards to breaking the analytics down to more layman's terms.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy listening to his conversations, not only when he talks about goaltending, but when he talks about all the other analytics in the game.
He doesn't pretend to know the position of goaltending either. He's made reference to that many times too. I don't understand the position, so I don't like to talk about it too much. So, and he says that's for other people to decide. I do love that. You just talked about Ed Belfour, and I wanted to ask you about who was the craziest fellow goaltender that you played with. Would Ed Belfour be up there?
You know what? Ed Belfour was interesting. Eddie was a goalie when I came to have him and share the net with him in Toronto. He was notorious for not getting along with his counterpart. Notorious.
Is that a competitive advantage thing for him, or just
very well could be?
Yeah.
And so, no doubt about it. When all this came together, I was going from Florida to Toronto, and Eddie Belfour was signing in Toronto. Certainly, that was a thought on my mind. Was how's this going to work? 2 Manitoba guys playing in Toronto. One guy has never gotten along with any of the other guys he's ever worked with. But I tell you, it was one of the funnest relationships. It worked out perfectly. And maybe it was a part that I was, no doubt about it, I was the number 2 guy in Toronto, so there was no threat of me taking over the position anytime he was there. But
2 proud Manitobans, though, maybe play a role in it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he knew right from the get-go that there was a sincerity and wanting to develop a friendship, develop a relationship, and to me that matters. And it's interesting when I think about that. I enjoy watching the Hellebuck-Brossoit relationship because I find similarities and synergies in regards to how they talk about one another, in regards to a number one and a number two, and supporting each other. And when you have, to me, that it's genuine, that it's sincere in wanting the other guy to do well in the net, and this is a credit to Paul Maurice too in communication, that the plan is not determined by specific wins and losses or how that game went. And to me, that was very similar in Toronto. And when you have a healthy tandem, when you have a healthy relationship with your two goaltenders, to me that goes a long way.
Okay, so who's the weirdest goaltender you ever played with?
The weirdest. We're all weird, man.
Yeah. But there's like levels of weirdness. There's levels of weirdness, yes. Ken Weeb is over your left shoulder there, pointing at you because he knows you were weird. But there's got to be
probably be easier for to ask the other guys that I played with.
Yeah.
They
so
would
were
all,
you weirder?
They would all point
so you're
the
trying to
fingers
tell me you were the weirdest of all the goaltenders you played with, and
everybody that I played with was quite normal.
Yeah, compared to you. Okay, tell me one of your quirks then.
You know what? I had a lot of.
Can people touch your equipment?
I had no problem with that.
That's a terrible question. That sounded awful. But can people touch your goaltender equipment when I ask that question?
You know what? Listen, when I started out in Calgary, I would say I was I overthought the game to some degree in regards to finding the balance between preparation and what was a superstition.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I realized, listen, a lot of this stuff, although it is maybe a part of the preparation, is certainly not a superstition. And if it doesn't work out, if A doesn't happen before B, it doesn't matter. Just go out there and play the game. So, I mean, I did a lot of things, whether it be putting on the right pad first, making sure the water bottle was in a certain area, having towels and doing different things on the ice, tapping the post, whatever that might be. I had a lot of that going on in my first few years. And as you get older, as you mature, as you gain experience, you realize, okay, yeah, these certain things might help you feel better during the day. These certain things might help you in your preparation. But again, if one doesn't happen the way it should, if you arrive to the rink 5 minutes later than you used to because of whatever reason, or your right pad goes on before your left, in any given moment situation, that, listen, you're not, a black cat hasn't crossed your path and you're going to go out there and allow 10 and have the worst game of your life.
Teammates traditionally, there are a lot of jokers. Did anybody mess with your pregame rituals, or is that not a good idea?
No, and I would say that's still the case today. Goaltenders are, for the most part,
don't touch.
Let's just leave those guys alone. Let them do their thing and let them be organized. And I think that is to some degree still a part of it. And to me, what is also different now with the position is that leaving a goaltender alone was basically, that started the night before a game.
Right.
Right?
Nobody talks to you.
Nobody talks to you. Let that guy be in his moment. And that would carry on into the morning skate. That would carry on into the evening. I find now more and more that a goaltender is a part of the picture, is a part of the team environment. And to me, that's a credit to not only how the position is coached, but just better prepared in regards to the media, better prepared in managing the mental part of the game. No.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, so that started well, because I remember Mika Kiprasov early. He did not talk to Mika Kiprasov on game days, and it started to spread a little bit. I know it's more goaltenders, but you were one of the guys, I'm not talking game day.
No, it was. I was in the zone already.
Okay.
And you think of a day when you're in the zone at 9:30 in the morning and the game's played at 7 o'clock at night. That's a long friggin' day.
Yeah.
And so
you must have been mentally pretty tired after each game.
And after you gain a few years, after you have some experience, as you mature, you realize, listen, just play the game. Just rely on your abilities. Whatever got you to here, you don't need half of this extra baggage to go out there and just simply play the game.
You played against and with a lot of great players.
I was lucky, yes.
Gretzky, Lemieux, Yzerman, I can go forever. So you have to have those moments where you think, I think we've talked about this last year. I asked you where you thought you had somebody and they scored on you, and you're literally like, screw you afterwards, where you're yelling at them. So when was that moment?
Well, you know what? It's funny. It's Al McInnes, no doubt about it, had the hardest slap shot. You hoped and you prayed that puck would not hit you, right? And you hoped that you had the angle that if it didn't hit you, he didn't score. Brett Hull, unbelievable snapshot, unbelievable.
I'm ashamed I didn't mention that.
Pavel Bure, so quick, feet, hands, so crafty. The breakaway. I remember in Florida, we would do breakaways at the end of practice for hours, just the two of us on the ice, just having fun, pond hockey. And he was so good, so quick. You know, it was just a real challenge, a boatload of fun in dealing with this guy in a practice environment, but also playing against him too, and playing on the opposite sides. But to me, no doubt about it, the two craftiest guys. No matter where you were on the ice, you could not for a second think you're safe and let off the throttle in regards to an awareness or a focus, was Gretzky and Lemieux. No doubt about it. Just when you thought, okay, these guys are in a non-danger area, there's no chance they're going to do anything here with the puck, they would find a way to bank it off of somebody, to find a no-looker, whatever it might be. And so you asked me that one question. This is my first year in Toronto, Pittsburgh Penguins, and there's a massive scramble in front of the net. Like, we're talking battle. I'm scrambling, I'm down, I'm swimming, making 2 or 3 saves on the blue paint. Finally, this puck ends up behind the net. And just for a second, you're like, oh.
You relax.
Right,
naturally.
Relax there.
But you've made 100 saves already.
Right.
And you feel you have a chance to make a breather.
And the game is tight. It's third period. It's 1-1. Okay, Kidder, get off your back now. Get off your keister. Let's stand up here. Lemieux is finally behind the net.
Okay.
And just as I put my arms on the ground, just as I kind of get myself to get up onto my knees, boom, he fires a puck from behind the net off of my pads and in. And I'm like, you son of a...
Did you yell at him?
I was,
you just gave him the look?
I cursed really loud. You know, you're just like, are you kidding me? Right now, like, you had to do that.
So much work had gone into
trying to make a first impression in Toronto. It was one of my first games there. You know, it's a battle, and again, playing it. I had the opportunity to play in obviously Maple Leaf Gardens, but any time a guy gets to play in Toronto, you know, in Montreal, original 6 type team, but certainly in Toronto, there's always just an extra buzz. And, you know, Pittsburgh Penguins, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, trying to make a first impression. It's 1-1. It's late in the third.
Everybody's
You're
watching.
battling. Like, this is a great game. Merriam, arguably one of the greatest players ever. And you've just, you know, fought him in front of the net. Now he's taking the puck behind the net. Let's take a second here. Let's get up. Let's get off your feet. Let's reestablish the positioning. And he puts it in off of your darn goal pads. Humbling experience, but certainly one that I mumbled, certainly out loud, USOB.
Yeah. We are, because of the passion in this, I'm going to have to get you on the podcast another time, man, because we could talk forever. I've got the head nod that we are out of time here. Because I won't ask for the Hanover Scorpions, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
This was fun.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, Jamie.
I always love story time, and I know I say this to you guys all the time, but I spoke with Trevor Kidd about this about a year ago. Just one of those times where you're a goaltender and you think you have somebody. Was there that screw you moment as an opponent? And I found it very funny the way he told the story about Mario Lemieux, because of all people, that's the guy, right? You do all that work, and then as Trevor mentioned, he's trying to make a name for himself with the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's hockey night in Canada. They're playing Pittsburgh and in Toronto. Thinks he has them, and then no, you don't. So it's just, and you know what, looking back on Trevor's career, man, he played in a pretty interesting time in the NHL with Wayne Gretzky, Steve Yzerman. I go down the list of all the great players. Then he said Pavel Bure, and it's funny how quickly you forget all the great players he played with and against.
Yeah, absolutely.
In his time in the National Hockey League. So thanks so much. I find goaltenders the neatest people because there's a mystery to them
and a different perspective.
Yeah,
completely on the game itself. So yeah, no, I mean, big thanks to Trevor for coming on and just kind of outlining some of those stories that he has from his great career.
Speaking of thanks, we appreciate all the times that people have downloaded this podcast. So this is kind of our way of thanking you outside of the Jets reward points. And speaking of Jets rewards, go to jetsrewards.ca, type in the word Zamboni. There's 50 Jets reward points for that. On top of that, we have a autographed Mark Scheifele Heritage Blue jersey. These jerseys are fantastic. They've got a lot of rave reviews following the 2019 Tim Hortons NHL Heritage Classic.
Well done.
In Regina. I feel like
it's a mouthful, but it's always a little accomplishment whenever we say it right.
Blows off the tongue here. So here's the thing that you have to do. Send in the correct answer to the following trivia question and be entered for a chance to win an autographed Mark Scheifele Heritage Blue jersey. We'll announce the winner on the following week's episode of the podcast. The winner will be contacted via email. Submit your answers to jetstv@tnse.com with the subject ground control. Please provide your first and last name. So again, the email address is jetstv@tnse.com. That's clear enough, I think.
I think so.
I think so.
Yep.
So the question is, and we're going to get you to go back a little bit. In episode 46 of Ground Control, we spoke with Jets defenseman Anthony Botetto. I feel like I talked to him just yesterday, but that's already back before training camp. Which player did he text as soon as the player in question signed in Winnipeg? The question again, in episode of 46 of Ground Control, we spoke with Jets defenseman Anthony Botetto. Which player did he text as soon as the player in question signed in Winnipeg? Email us that answer, and you enter yourself in the draw to win that Mark Scheifele autographed Heritage Blue jersey. If you want to keep it for yourself for Christmas, great. If you want to give it away, we don't blame you, because regifting is one of the greatest things in the world.
That's a fantastic gift.
It really would be.
It's sitting in this office as we speak.
In my hutch.
It is glorious.
Hidden away under lock and key.
I think we're doing a nice job of presenting how nice this jersey is.
It's fantastic.
And it's autographed. So that's even better.
Yeah. Like, are you going to keep it
if I want it?
Yes.
It's going in a shadow box for me.
Yeah, probably.
You're keeping it?
I think I would keep it, yeah.
Yeah, it go in I put it in a shadow box.
Oh, man, I'm totally
for my
away.
Wow, you're
going to wear it?
No, I would give it away as a gift.
Oh, well, you're so philanthropic.
That's nice.
But it looks like I paid for it. Listen, I just bought
Money's of no object to me.
No,
Here's
listen,
your gift.
you are so special. I haven't bought you a Christmas present in 20 years, but here it is. I know you're a Jets fan. Here you go. Thank you. Busy week for the Jets, and it was funny. We had Logan Shaw on the postgame show following the win over the Flyers, and he said, they viewed this homestand in these next few games, 5 of 6, including the game against the Flyers on home ice, as a break. It's not really a break. They're playing every second night.
Yeah. It's just you kind of get the extra, the Friday, Saturday, and then playing on Sunday is kind of what they've had the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of been, even just having that extra day in the way that the schedule works, and can be huge for these guys, I think.
That all being said, how important is this is a good chance for them to make some hay in the division, considering how well they've been playing on home ice. They're getting comfortable. They're looking more, a lot better in front of the fans here in Winnipeg. I think this is a good opportunity for them, especially within the division.
Well, yeah, especially because everybody in the division keeps winning.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost means you have to earn 2 points every night just to keep up. So obviously, coming into the 3-day Christmas break, Paul Maurice always says that's the toughest time to kind of focus. You got guys that haven't been home in a while that maybe are going home. You have family coming in. So it can be difficult to focus. So it'll be all about which team, and it's not just the Jets that go through it, obviously, but which team can stay focused with those games starting to wind down before that holiday break.
Before the Christmas break, the Jets have Carolina, Chicago at home this week. They go to Minnesota for a quick game on Saturday, and then, of course, close things out the pre-Christmas schedule at home against the Montreal Canadiens. Tyler, you're also agreeing with the fact with Mitch this is a good opportunity for the club, considering how well they played here.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity. Carolina should definitely not be overlooked. They've been a really good hockey team, and I'm actually quite excited to see that matchup here in Winnipeg on Tuesday night, I believe it is, and then you close it out against Chicago, and then on the road in Mini. So it'll be a good stretch this week. Also, the 1 p.m. Saturday game in Minnesota.
We're going to be home by 6, I think.
I have a Christmas party that night. I'll be able to make it.
That's incredible.
Finish some Christmas shopping in Minneapolis. It would be perfect.
That's bonus.
Everything's gravy.
What's the schedule? We'll be back by 7. You're going to be at the Christmas party? Are they going to hold?
7:15.
Nice.
So busy week for the Jets. I'm curious to see if Paul Maurice is going to call the game against Carolina a grinder, because I've heard him use that.
It definitely will be.
He will, yeah. So they've changed the things a little bit. They're a little bit more dynamic than they have been in years past, but I'm pretty sure the word grinder will be brought up on Tuesday. On behalf of Tyler Esquivel, Mitchell Clinton, and of course Daniel Moss, I'm Jamie Thomas. This has been Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.